Hello and welcome to the Crit Points podcast, the video game review show where everyone gets to speak their mind, but like the comment section, arguments are going to happen. Together, we four gamers who are way too opinionated review a video game and argue if we can't help ourselves. My name is Kevin, and with me today we have... I don't know who's going to go first.
Hello, I'm Tivo, co-host of PixelFlip, most beautiful one in the group.
I'm sorry.
No,
Best at League of Legends.
Okay, hi, I'm Koshi.
Oh, hang on. You can't give away
I'm the
the
freeloader.
game we're playing.
Hi, I'm Lightning. I'm the only sane one.
Yeah, I know. I can't believe.
Speaking of arguments,
We've already ruined this. All right. Every week we pick a game and we talk about it. And this week we decided to pick something that's meant a lot to all of us. Something that's part of the reason why we've all come together as people, and also like had a fair share of arguments growing up. We're talking about League of Legends. It's hard to believe that this game is still relevant in these days, right? Like, people are still playing it. There's still the World Championships. It blows my mind how big League of Legends is to this day. Yet it seemed like a fad at first. Anyway, so we start off these podcasts with everyone's going to give their first 3-minute review and give it a score at the end of it. Say whatever you want. No one cut anyone off for these 3 minutes. And we're going to start with... I'm going to start with Koshi.
Oh,
So,
okay.
Give me your 3-minute review of League.
Just my 3-minute sort of impression of the game.
Yeah,
Okay.
whatever you want to say, feel
Sure.
free to say it. Give it a score out of 10 at the end.
Out of 10. Okay, sure. Well, what I love about League, just the concept of like online MOBAs, is it's like you're playing basketball, just whenever you want. Because like on a basketball team, like there's 5 players on the court, or there's 10 players on the court, 5 players per team, and it's like essentially you can play basketball without going outside or looking for a friend to play with you, and you can just play. And it's fun at first, and then you keep playing the game, and then it becomes less fun, and it becomes more try-hard the more you go. But that depends on the person. I think I've definitely met a few people who just play the game casually, only play normals just for fun, or ARAMs, or whatever you want to call them. But eventually you get the competitive drive, and you just want to get good at the game, and then you see the esports side of things, where you see all these pro players do amazing things. They're so famous these days. Like, I think Bjergsen himself has, like, I think 1 million Twitter followers at this point. Like, they're all so famous, they're doing amazing things, they're making so much money. And just the esports side alone is probably one of the biggest factors of League of Legends as a whole. And it's like basketball. So out of 10, I don't know, I'd give it like a 3.
there it is. There it is, boys.
So this out of 10, you know, I give it like a 3.
Okay, no, that's not half bad.
Review of the
Like,
century.
I mean, I like it. I like what you said. So next
It's
up,
fucking garbage, though.
we'll give Molly can go next if she wants.
You know what? Sure, why not? League of Legends. It's a game. I have fun with it. It's, okay, I'm gonna be honest. From a design perspective, I think League is actually pretty decent. And I know that's shocking, considering anybody that knows me, all I do is whine and complain and moan about the game. But from a design perspective, the champions are great. The artistic direction is great. The gameplay is... It's, you know, not as great as the other things, but it's still pretty good. The community, we're not going to talk about. And overall, it's a fun way to kill some time. It's a fun way to, you know, hang out with friends. Also kill friendships, you know, that fun stuff. And all joking aside, the game is extremely revolutionary, I think. Like, it basically, you know, raised up the esports scene on its own. Like, think about, like, you know, pre-2009. Like, can you think of any game that was, like, featured as an esport more than League of Legends, or really even gave the medium as much of a spotlight as League has? Like, maybe StarCraft, but I honestly can't think of anything, so... Again, I like it for the champions, I like it for the diverse gameplay. I mean, you've got over 120 of the freaking things, so... I don't know, at this point we might be even at 150, it's been a while since I played. But overall, there are some things that could be better. Balance changes could be a little better. Just a bit. Rito, please. And overall, it's a good game. Out of 10, I'd give it like... I don't know, let's say a 6.
True.
Alright.
True. No, it's true. It's solid facts. Trevor, do you want to go? Do you want to go before me, or?
Oh, yeah, sure. Now, should we save disagreements for later?
Oh yeah, that's coming later. Don't worry.
Okay, because I love you, Lightning, but I've got a couple things that I didn't agree with.
All right.
I still
we're,
love
we're
you.
gonna fight. We're gonna fight.
I
I'm
still
kidding.
love
Not right
you.
now. Not right now.
But I'm getting there.
I know.
Molly,
Okay, go on.
You hold back for now. It'll happen later.
Hold
Molly
back.
hold back.
Hold
Wait,
me
I just attacked her. I love you.
I'm kidding.
Okay.
Anyway, go on.
But so League is one of those games that's kind of like a once in a lifetime thing. So obviously the whole MOBA genre started after the Dota mod for Warcraft and everything. That's when it really became like a popular thing after the Dota mod for Warcraft 3, which I used to play back in the day when I was a kid. So that's interesting. But League, I originally got into back in like 8th grade, back in season 1, and I never really kept playing. But then about 2 years later, I decided to get back into it, and ever since then I've been in love. It's just such a such a simple game to sit down and learn and fall in love with the characters and the lore and stuff. While the lore isn't as fleshed out now as it used to be, because they decided that I believe Riot said something like it's a sport and that sports don't have as much. I might be bull that, so I'm gonna stop that point before someone gets mad at me. I don't think that's the right point, so I'm gonna pretend I didn't say that. All right. So regardless, so I just love everything about League. I love the characters. I love the art design. The game's come so far, and I believe that Riot is such a great company for what all they do, because very rarely do you get a game that's constantly being balanced every 2 weeks. If you look at Overwatch gets balanced like every few months basically, and that can be a problem because like today Doomfist was announced, not to date this podcast or anything, but that's interesting because that's the first character since Orisa, and since then we've had 4 characters in the past year. That's cool for Overwatch, but League is constantly being updated, and that's something you don't get with a lot of games, because if there's something broken in League, in the next week or 2, it'll be nerfed or fixed, and very rarely does that happen with a lot of games. You get stuff like Call of Duty, and that doesn't really happen. And that's very, very good to have for a living, breathing game such as League, because that game is constantly alive, and it's bigger now than it ever was, which makes it even easier to get into a game, find people, find friends to play with. And while the community can be bad at points, that's not the biggest part of the game. I mean, it is a huge part, but thankfully you can mute people that you don't like. And so that makes it really easy to just find a game, meet some people that you can be friends with, and just start queuing with people. Like the other day, I was in a League game, ranked game. Guy honors me, and he and I duo the next game. Very fun guy, cool experience. And it's so easy to just fall in love with the characters and everything about League. I realize I'm kind of ranting at this point. I didn't really have a chance to write this all down. I did, and then I accidentally threw it away, and I don't know where that is, so I apologize for the jumbled thoughts. But League is just one of those games that I absolutely love. I love being competitive when it comes to games. I've always loved being competitive, and I actually plan on trying to try out for a collegiate team next semester at my college, so that's amazing. It's absolutely amazing that a game like this exists, because very rarely do you get a game that has such a huge player base and so many people that are dedicated into getting better, and I just love the whole competitive scene of it. That's what I fall in love with the game for. Are normals and everything fun? Yes. Are the characters amazing? Yes. But in terms of a competitive scene for a game, it's absolutely outstanding, and that's what I fell in love with the game for. Out of 10, I would easily give this game an 8 or a 9. Only because I don't really believe in a whole score system. I don't think scores are a good thing, mainly because it should be more about your thoughts. But what I really like, this game is absolutely amazing, and I seriously recommend that. If you like competitive games at all, you need to play this game.
Mm-hmm. That's solid. It's true though, and that's going to play into what my sort of review of the game is, because if there's one thing that League does right, no matter how much the community can really be sort of, the sole reason why people don't get into it nowadays is because it's like, hello, car. There's it's because of like, no matter how toxic the community is known to be, and no matter how much flack the game gets, it's the fact that it is like sort of the face of a genre. It's the face of competitive MOBAs. It's the fact that I had never even knew what a MOBA was, and I didn't even know like how competitive video games could be until League of Legends, right? And to your point, Molly, about what competitive games were like before League, it's true there was StarCraft. I was gonna hazard a guess and say maybe the fighting game community has like a lot, like, because Melee is a lot older than League of Legends, and then even prior to that, like there's always been like Street Fighter tournaments. No matter how seriously they were taken, they did exist. So, and I'm pretty sure like Street Fighter tournaments are run by Capcom nowadays. Like a lot of those high-level fighting game tournaments are supported by the creators and the companies that publish these games. But with that being said, League of Legends is the fact that it's free. It's the fact that it does have this, I want to say it's a unique look, but in reality it is kind of like, its setting is very a ripoff of Warcraft, but because that's how it kind of started. But I did fall in love with the characters. They do have very amazing artwork. If there was one thing that they did great from the beginning was the fact that the characters were just enticing to play as, whether you find them attractive in the sense of like Frostblade Aurelia, or if you just like the way they look, because I'm like a diehard Rumble main. You just like how cute this little Yordle looking thing is in a mech. I'm like, how can I not get behind that? That looks so cool. So League brings together all these really cool characters and all this really cool stuff, and I know that nowadays it's common for MOBAs to bring characters from all walks of life, and there's like, oh, this guy is like a wolf, and then this guy is like from a futuristic world and he's come back in time. Who knows? It's the fact that they come all together and they all have these really cool abilities, and to Trevor's point, it's true. They keep updating that constantly, and you can tell whenever a new champion does come out, they're trying their damnedest to try to come up with something new and original with every character that they release. So I give them a lot of props. If there's one thing that does ruin it, it's the community, and the fact that in the MOBA world, people who are really into MOBAs will say other games are better. Like Dota fans are like, screw League constantly. So I would definitely say that, like, if I had to score it, I would give it like I want to say like a 6 or 7, yeah, around there. It's good, but I wouldn't say it's like you need to play it. It's only great mainly because it's free. That's the main thing.
Quote unquote free.
I'm also very free at the game, so I mean, don't talk to me about that. And with that being said,
12 Rumble.
with that being said, that's the beginning of all reviews. It's just giving our general opinions on it. That's the point of what that all is. This would be where I read an ad. So I'm just going to say, subscribe to PixelFlip. This is a new channel. It's a new channel.
Well done.
About everything we do.
Clean.
This is the ad read. If anyone does want to sponsor us, we don't even know how much to charge people. So I mean, we'll figure this all out. So now we go into the part where we're gonna start breaking this up. Everyone's just gonna talk. It's a free floor now. I'm gonna keep an eye on the timing so we don't. Yeah, that's what's gonna happen. We're free to fight. I'm gonna give you guys questions. You're free to answer them. Make sure you always say the why. That's the hard part. That's the part. I'm not just gonna ask this and you just give me an answer. I want you to say why. And if you want to argue, have at it. But I'm gonna cut you off if you're starting to eat into a lot of the time here. So let me ask you all first. Who are your favorite characters to play as? And I'm gonna start with Molly just to get it all started.
My favorite characters are probably Katarina, Vi, Lucian. Honestly, like, those are probably my main 3. I mean, I honestly really like a huge, wide variety of characters, but if I had to, like, pick just 3, it'd probably be them.
And why?
Oh, why? We're already screwing that part up.
Nice.
Come on. I said, and why? You gotta answer the why.
Sorry. Anyway.
It's okay.
Why? I mean, have you seen Vi? I mean, she punches the crap out of people and then just like this.
So you like the
I
aesthetic
just couldn't
of the
play
champion.
Vi.
Oh yeah, the aesthetic's great. I love the
Okay.
gameplay. I mean, I just like the way it feels when you're playing Vi and you just punch somebody and they just get flown up into the air and it's great.
It's a very satisfying feeling.
It is very satisfying. Or Katarina when you just spin to win, although I don't really like her as much now thanks to the remake. Thanks, Retail. And Lucian, I mean, Lucian's kind of more of like his gameplay isn't like that amazing, but he's just kind of the champion. Like when I first got into the game, he was like basically my first like new champion. I was like, oh man, this is so hype! I can't wait to play him. So that's more of a kind of nostalgia thing than more of a gameplay thing, and I just kind of stuck with them. And yeah, that would be why. I like their gameplay. I like the aesthetic. I think they're fun. And at the end of the day, isn't that what this game's about? Having fun.
Nope.
Yep.
Nope.
Yep, pretty much.
Come on. We all know that Lucian for a long while was overpowered.
Well,
That's-
yeah.
And that's the big problem with League in general, right? Is like they would release a new character, and I swear every new character was OP for like the first month that they were out. And then they
But
go
why
from
are they
top
OP?
to
Because no one understands their kit, no one knows how to deal with them. Look at like when Jin came out. A lot of people were like, oh, Jin's not that great. Sneaky learns how to play Jin. Jin's fucking busted.
Yeah. And that's another problem with the community too, but we'll get more about the community. Trevor, your favorite characters?
All right, I am a top lane main through and through because tanks are the only thing that matter in any video game. However, Thresh will always be my favorite character because not only are his abilities just absolutely awesome, just grabbing, it's like just being able to grab someone. I mean, there's Blitzcrank Hook, right? But there's something so horrifying about Thresh Hook, which is heightened by his lore and the sound design. Just when you grab someone, it makes that disgusting like king, like chain noise. That was not a good noise. I'm not a voice actor, but it was beautiful. It's just beautiful. And like his kit is absolutely amazing and one of the best in the game. He is arguably the most useful champion you can have on a team. And his lore is absolutely amazing. He took Lucian's wife because screw Lucian. But it's awesome. It's just everything about Thresh is amazing. I love his sound design, as I was getting on earlier. But like the voice acting is amazing. It's very harrowing and scary. His skins are really cool. And I mean, you know, the whole visual aspect of Thresh is really cool too because you're a weird demon-esque thing. I know that's not necessarily correct, but yeah. That's really cool. And just all the sounds of everything on his kit sound amazing. Just walking and hearing those chains rattling. Or like when you throw up the box and it makes like this noise as someone runs into it and you're like, come here, bitch. It's beautiful. I love it. It's amazing. Also, Galio is great because he's a giant gargoyle. And that's, have you ever seen the Gargoyles TV show? Come on.
Yeah, no. Well, Galio was, he was like never like good though. He was always like the solo queue king though.
Yeah, I don't know if I go as far to say solo queue king.
Depends what you're facing. But I remember for a while it was just like pick Galio if you're against certain things and they can't kill you.
But that's how he is now. Because with Galio's rework, he's just a big beefy tank with a very good kit, and his ult is amazing because every time I ult, I make a bird noise. You can ask Koshi. It's great. I just go oh man, my sound's just spiked. I'm really sorry about that one.
It's fine. It's fine. It's just I'm gonna have to edit all this. Thanks. Don't worry about it.
Love you. Love you, Kev.
Who was next? I was next. Like I said it in my review, my favorite character to play as is Rumble. There's also like a close second is like Veigar. It's just because I don't know. I always like playing as quirky characters. I like playing as characters that, at the time, not a lot of people were playing them. Like I don't know anyone who plays Veigar now, but like Veigar, no one plays Veigar. But when I was playing Rumble, when I first started it was no one was playing him, and I was figuring out all this stuff with his heat mechanics, and I'm like, oh, if I can just I'll just keep casting stuff to stay in that danger zone. And then I keep saying that to myself, and the danger zone song comes on in my head, and it ruins the whole thing. But I'm just going on, and I'm just the moment my flames got that little extra stuff from being in the danger zone, you could see like the extra particle effects that came out of it. I'm like, oh, now I know how much damage I'm doing, and I was starting to actually pay attention to how I could tell what my damage output was. And what really started getting me was like in terms of his damage over time, it started getting really exciting when I would be burning them and they would burst me up front, but over time they would die faster than I would. Sure, at first they took out a whole third of my health in one hit, but I burned them down and finished them off before they could take out my last 2/3 of health, because because Rumble is a pretty tanky champion, and I don't like the items nowadays. But anyway, we'll get to the items as well. But that's why I really like Rumble. Rumble's a lot of fun to play as. I do like his aesthetic, his whole. And even his lore, back when lore was important, his whole he was the smallest Yordle. And I'm like, man, they're small enough as it is. How do you get even smaller than that? And he was just like, I'm going to, and he showed up one day in Piltover with his mech. And I was like, that's right. You show them, man. Use that flamethrower thing. It's so cool. That's why I like Rumble. And Koshi?
Okay. My favorite champions personally are, I would say Nidalee, Elise, and Lee Sin. And my reasons why is because everyone who's played this game understands that most champions, I would say probably 90% of the champions, have only 4 abilities. And champions like Elise, Nidalee, and Lee Sin, they have more than 4. They have basically 6 or 7, which makes it a bit more mechanically intensive, I think. Because anybody who's played like Dota 2 or any other MOBAs can probably agree with me and say that League is probably like the lesser mechanical game between like League and Dota. So just the idea of everything being more fast-paced and more, you have to think way more on your feet with more mechanically intensive champions with more abilities is just more attractive to me. So I think that's why I like those 3 champions.
It's true.
Yep.
It is very true. And it's a good thing. You have anything else to say, sorry?
No, that's it.
It's a good thing that you mentioned Lee Sin, because now we're going to talk about least favorite characters to face We can also add the extra least favorite character to have on your team, because sometimes with like Lee Sin, for example, very rarely, and it happens a lot in solo queue, where if they're on your team, they feed immensely. If they're on the enemy team, they carry their entire team somehow. So least favorite characters to face, and I'm starting with Trevor this time.
All right. If you want to trigger me in solo queue, pick Draven. Because I don't know. I just absolutely despise that champion, just because by nature, Draven and his lore, everything is like a full of himself asshole, which I deal with enough in solo queue. So if you lock in Draven, I'm like, this dude's probably an asshole. And just, oh my goodness, he's just so annoying because of his E and stuff. Like, I play a lot of tanks and stuff, so getting kited is never fun by AD carries. And just having him just, EU, and then you're like, oh, his E, of course, if you don't play League of Legends, just kind of throws you away. Just tosses you to the side. It's really irritating. And just his damage output is always really annoying to lane against if you're playing something like Thresh or a melee. Oh, not a melee support. The Thresh is not a melee support, but you understand my point. It's just always really irritating to lane against. I also hate Darius because, once again, Darius isn't the best champion in the game. Just his laning phase is irritating. Every Darius takes Ignite top lane, which if you take Ignite top lane, you're not a real man. And it's just irritating. His laning phase just always is so obnoxious to me. It's just so irritating to have to deal with the bleed. It's just a farm lane because you got to act like a baby if you're playing something that's not really good at 1v1s. So it's just annoying.
Right.
Taking Ignite top lane doesn't make you a man.
Yeah,
I used to take a top lane with Rumble.
I would have. Well,
snap.
Kevin.
Case in
I
point.
know.
Here's the thing.
I know. Teleport is like more beneficial
Right.
in like just about every way, but sometimes you just want to dunk on people.
Sure.
It's very rude.
And when
you
you
stop.
already have all the dots with Rumble, isn't it great to like ignite on top of that, and then like their health just like starts melting away? Like, it's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing.
I will
also
give
would
that
take-
to you. It is fun, but it's rude.
I'll also take Ghost sometimes with Rumble because that's really funny.
What?
No, Ghost with Rumble is really good. Like, because it helps him avoid like minion block, and that way he doesn't like start turning around while he's trying to flame people while he's walking towards them. You'd be surprised like how much it
troll,
actually
though.
helps, and especially like
troll.
pre-Rylai's, it's like very hard to like keep up with people while you're queuing them. So having Ghost can be better than Flash in some cases.
I feel it.
Yeah, anyway, next was it me? It was me next. Yeah,
Sure.
I'm trying to remember.
It's you.
Anyway, it's me.
It's you.
Me. Who do I hate facing? I'm gonna agree with Darius because we had that game when we were reminding ourselves. We were reminding ourselves how.
Oh man.
And that Darius just dunked on me, and he didn't care about he just showed up to lane, and there's gonna be footage of like this game like on the
For
screen.
reference.
For
Kevin
reference.
went 0-12.
I think I got like a kill in there somewhere.
Oh,
I'm like,
sorry, 2-12.
there we go. Thank you.
Buff the KDA.
Hey, you all upvoted me afterwards. It's like tilt proof.
Yeah, we all give.
Because I was just having a great time, man. I was just trying to play League. I was trying to have fun. And that Darius would just see me, and he would just be like, it'd be really cool if I just popped Flash and Exhaust, Flash and Ghost, so I could catch up with him and kill him. And that's what he kept doing the entire game. It was absolutely horrible. But is there anyone else I really hated? Fizz back in the day. Screw that shit, man. He just fucking pops you, and then you can't hit him with anything. Like, it was the sole reason why I would have like a decent amount of Kennen games in ranked, because Kennen is like a hard counter. And Kennen, even though he doesn't have a lot of late game prowess, and like if your team doesn't work with your ult, it's like they don't understand when they're going to get stunned. So it doesn't work as well, but it can definitely help when laning against Fizz, because your bonus damage is just that every, fourth attack or whatever? I forget how many attacks it was. Yeah, fourth. So yeah, it's 4 or 5 attacks, and you get that extra click hit, and you get a mark on them, and then you just hit that and W, and it's like easy poke compared to trying to line shit up like every other mid laner who has to like, first I need to hit him with something, and then I hit him with something else. But Fizz would just be like, I'm gonna wait till he hits me with the first thing, and then I'll jump over the second thing. And that's why I hate Fizz. It feels real bad, bro. Feels real bad. Koshi.
Hello. Least favorite champion, yes?
Least favorite champion either on your team or to play against?
I think what really kills me in the game is when I come up with a plan or something and I'm about to be like, okay, I can pull off this gank here if this happens and this happens and this happens. I really hate those champions that can just ruin those plans. And the champions that can do that, that first come to mind would be Janna and Soraka.
Janna specifically?
Janna and Soraka.
I wonder why Janna is so mad.
Janna and Soraka, I think the amount of disrupts they can do and the amount of heals that Soraka does sort of just negates any plan, and people can walk away with like 10 health, and I'll be like, well, if Soraka wasn't in this game, I probably could have gotten them, but alas. So for me personally, I think those kind of champions I don't like playing against. And I think, on my team, the regular, Yasuo Lee Sin is probably what I don't like. Because it's usually like... It's funny, like, thinking about, like, what kind of people play certain champions. Like, you can kind of tell a person's personality depending on their main champion sometimes. And, like, not every time, of course, but definitely when I see a Yasuo one-trick, like, if I see he has 400 games on Yasuo, I'm not going to say he's good at Yasuo. I'm going to say, no, this guy just plays Yasuo, and that's probably going to be bad for me if he's on my team, and bad for me if he's on the other team. So I think it's those would be the champions. Janna, Soraka I don't like playing against. Yasuo, Lee Sin I don't like playing with. Yeah, those would be my champions.
He does ban Janna every game.
Yeah.
Now we do. We've learned. Ban Janna every game. And Molly?
Let's see, you got a couple hours?
Just give me the Cole's notes. I just need the Cole's
Every
notes.
champion.
I mean, no, not every champion. Just all
Just
those.
130 of them.
The one that got nerfed. The one that got nerfed recently, not that one. The
Yeah,
rest of them,
no, not that one. No. Let's see. Least favorite League of Legends champions. Let's see. We have the wonderful Blitzcrank. We've got Janna. We have Fiora. Let's see. We also have Yasuo and Riven. Riven, one of my all-time favorites to fight. Soraka. It just presses R, and well, there goes my plan. There goes my day. Let's see. We also have the lovely Rengar. You know what? And oh, my absolute least favorite, Shaco. Because I hate stealth in MOBAs. Specifically, it's really weird for me because I actually do enjoy stealth in quite a few games. Just for whatever reason, in MOBAs, it just doesn't work for me. I don't like it. I know that it has its counterplays, but dear God, it's the memories of Shaco's and Rengar's just jumping and shredding me to pieces. Love it. And they never seem to work on your team. Ever. So there's my little bit of hatred for the podcast. There you go. I hope you enjoyed. Be sure to subscribe to PixelFlip. No,
be sure to subscribe.
Lightning Salt Corner.
I hate this game. Please
It's
subscribe.
true though. I hate this game.
I hate
Please
everything
subscribe.
about
We'll
this
pick a game.
No, I'm kidding.
We'll pick a game she likes next time. If you want us to review a certain game, leave a comment down below.
LeBlanc! I hate LeBlanc!
Oh God! Oh my God!
I think
you scared
now
the shit
more
out of
than
me.
ever, I don't like LeBlanc.
I knew I was forgetting one.
One of the early phrases we had going into League was, "Oh look, it's LeBlanc."
Oh,
That
yeah.
was famous last words.
Yeah, that was famous.
Cassidon.
Be sure to watch the video. Hey, look, it's LeBlanc, because that is a classic.
It's
That
just
is
like
a
from someone's
classic.
stream. It's just like some guy turns a corner and go, "Oh look, it's LeBlanc." Dead.
Just like for the rest of this video, every now and again, I'll just list off a champion name. You'll know it's one that I hate.
Just we'll be
They're
sitting
still
here and
coming in.
you hear Twitch.
I'm sick of Twitch, man. I hate this.
Natalie! No,
Lightning's in a-
Natalie's
Lightning's in
not-
a league.
Actually, depends on the patch.
Kit's overloaded as shit.
I was gonna
But
say depends on the patch.
Oh man.
Lightning's in a league game right now while we're recording, and you're just sitting here and you're, God damn it, I hate whatever champion she gets 1v1 by.
It's bad that I'm actually looking at the champion list, just going down the list like,
Yes.
who do I hate?
Slowly
Oh,
start
I've
picking
been-
like weird ones. Like Udyr, man, screw that. man.
Actually, you know what? Now that you mention it,
the trick
What?
The trick 2G Udyr when that was a thing and everyone was just building
Yeah.
like
no, I
movement
still
speed.
hate Udyr. I still hate Udyr.
Unrelated. Well, it's still completely related, but Phoenix stance is currently being changed to AD instead of AP, which is a little strange.
That's very strange. And this is like off topic from talking about least favorite characters, but I hate that League started like moving away from that. Like when APE was a thing, I thought that was cool because playing
Was
AP
it, Kevin?
Hang on. Listen. I'm not saying that APE was actually okay, this kind of does fit in this topic actually. But APE, I'm not saying it's like well designed. I'm not saying it was fun to play against or anything. But what was cool about APE was the fact that it played completely different from ADE at the time, right? When you played ADE, you were like trying to duel, you're trying to get in there, you're just attack speeding the crap out of people. APE, you're just trying to get like those extra Qs that hit them, and it chunks them for way too much damage, and it's dumb. But it was the fact that there was like that variety from them. Like you could play this one champion 2 different ways, right? And I don't like that they just turned him AD and it ended up just kind of being a hybrid of both. I wish you could choose either one or the other. It made itemization a lot cooler in my mind, and that if a character could be AP or AD, it was a lot more interesting for a character. I don't know. I don't like that they moved away from that and they made it so it's like this guy builds AD. If you build him anything else, you're dumb. And you have to look up builds for every champion, and I don't really like that personally. I feel like you should just be able to feel it out. I don't know.
Mm-hmm. No, I understand that, but it's like there are some characters that do have a certain play style in mind, and I understand that. And like I can see why people would be like, "Oh, well, I want to build this champion AP," but at some point it's like that's a little troll. Like, come on, don't do that. Like the whole support Singed argument from a while back. However, when it becomes a point where a champion is, like Master Yi, which is traditionally an AD, jungler, when it becomes a point where he just won't die because of his AP scaling on his W and stuff, same reason AP Trendemir was nerfed, because also his W, because just the healing stats were a little stupid, that's when it becomes to a point where I feel like it should be nerfed or changed or just removed from the game, because it's not really fair to make a champion be just complete cheese for no reason. I feel like at that point, it's like, that's a little dumb. That's a me personal thing. Like, I can see why people would be like, oh, you should be able to do that. But personally, it's like, if they feel that, I mean, at the end of the day, it is Riot's game. And if they feel like a character shouldn't be played a certain way, then I'm kind of with it.
Yeah, no, and I can agree with that. But when they did the All for One modes for a bit, when they were doing like the jokey modes, All for One was really funny. Because I remember one time, some friends and I, we picked Ashe for whatever reason. We're like, oh, they'll be slow, they'll never catch us, sort of thing. Anyway, but we all try to build Ashe differently because there's 5 of us, and one of us tried to do AP, and it was really funny because the fact that you would, well, yeah, because the alt scale is 1-to-1, and then you have Lichbane on top of that, so you get that, and then 1 free hit, and they're down to like a quarter of their health at least, right? Like, I thought it was cool, and I wish there was just more characters that just like randomly had a skill that scaled off AP, and it was like if you built around it, it can work in its own way, right? Kind of like how AD Kennen kind of works, but not really anymore, but it did.
Oh, no, actually AD Kennen's really strong right now.
Oh, okay, that's good. But yeah, I like when characters can be built different ways, and it always just seemed like they were kind of shoehorning every champion into like its role, and I don't know. At that point, like, do you need the items? Right? Like, why don't they just do it kind of like Heroes of the Storm, which I know is sacrilegious to a lot of MOBA players, but I like that Heroes of the Storm was very like, look, this character's a tank, so everything you get is kind of built on how you want to play them as a tank, but they're still going to be a tank in the end, and you don't have to worry about like, what item is going to make me the best tank? Like, I don't know. It bothered me a little bit. Speaking of items, though, let's just talk about the item system. Now, I phrased this in my notes as like favorite item to build, but you can also kind of word it as like your favorite combinations of items and how do you feel about the item system in general. We're gonna start with, coincidentally, me. I had written down that I was gonna go first for this question, but I ended up just talking a lot about it. But I guess just to add to it, I feel like the items, they're cool in League compared to other MOBAs, because I feel like it is very streamlined. If there was one thing that I found weird about Smite was just like how many friggin' items there were in that game. And I'm like, what? And there was like literally like items for every single combination. Like there's one that's attack speed and life steal. There's one that's attack damage and life steal. There's one that's attack damage and attack speed. Like they had every single combination. So in light of that, probably they have that in League though. They'll have everything in League ends up having cooldown reduction. That's the weird thing about League in my mind is everything ends up having cooldown reduction in some case and form. And I don't know when it sort of happened, but at some point I realized that there weren't a lot of good MR and health items. Like you had to build MR and health separately, but you didn't have to build MR and armor separately. And that always bothered me. I don't know why. That just always
that's
bothered me.
different now, though.
It's different. Well, again, we only played a little bit to like get reacquainted with the game, but...
Granted, I still play League, basically.
Oh, okay. So. You'll be more of the authority on it.
So does Koshi, yeah.
Coincidentally, Koshi is next.
Oh, hello. Okay. Well, when it comes to items...
You're all free to talk while we're talking, by the way. You don't need to wait for your turn. We can just, like, have a conversation. That's what a podcast is.
Just being polite.
Yeah, I just didn't want to cut you off and be rude.
No, it's okay.
Yeah,
it's the first episode. We'll refine it.
We'll get used to it.
Right. So for the items, I do want to... I brought up Dota 2 before, but I do want to bring that up one more time, even though it's not technically what this podcast is about. But for the sake of comparison, in Dota 2, your items... or not your items, but the idea of backing in League of Legends is way different than like how you would buy items in Dota 2. There's the courier and items, I think that's how you pronounce it. Where courier. Where in Dota 2, because the couriers can come whenever, and they can deliver you items, you don't need to base sometimes. And in fact, I think basing or leaving your lane specifically is more dangerous in Dota 2, whereas in League, it is dangerous to leave your lane at an inopportune time. But I think that comes with the strategy of, when is the right time to base? When is the right time to get those items so you can have an advantage? And both these games do a thing. Sorry, what?
Oh, no, I was just going to say, like, and in Dota to base, you need a scroll to do it, which you have to buy from the shop, which takes up an item.
Exactly. So in League, one thing is that you're farming up, essentially, to get gold, to get items. And the idea is to get better items than your lane opponent, or than your role opponent, I guess. And having an advantage over your opponent can snowball the game. You can kill them. You can solo kill them. You'll be much more efficient in team fights. But best case scenario, you start the game with just the base items, and you are pretty much evenly matched, give or take, against your opponent. And if you happen to solo kill them by outsmarting them or just outplaying them, then he has to buy. You're forcing your opponent to buy an item that is inferior to the item that you can buy now, which creates this whole strategy of being able to get the exact item that the other person is probably going to get just faster. Whereas in Dota 2, you can probably build whatever you want. Whereas in League, all these champions have certain roles that they have to fulfill. For example, supports always have to pretty much build Sightstone first. So you can kind of predict what items everyone's going to get. There's usually no off-meta stuff, especially in the competitive scene. Give or take, there are some moments where someone will build an item, and it's something you just never thought that person would build, but it works. So that comes with a lot of theory crafting. So I think League has an advantage here where you know what items that you're supposed to get, assuming you play the game for a little bit. And like what core items you need, and then you know what items you will need to adapt or use to adapt towards the game. Such as defensive items towards other opponents. If they're stronger than you, maybe you should build a little healthier and build something to resist what they're going to do to you. Whereas in Dota 2, you can just build whatever you want. You don't have to follow a formula. So I just wanted to discuss that real quick, the idea of like League of Legends having a almost set formula to what items you're supposed to build compared to the freedom that you can have when you're playing Dota 2. If anyone wants to talk about that.
No, I feel that. I have not played enough Dota 2. I've probably only played about 25 hours or so of Dota, and that was over a little bit of time, so I can't really speak too much about Dota items. But I definitely understand that, because in League, if you are building the wrong items, generally you're not going to be as strong as someone else playing the champion, which is why a lot of people do default to stuff like champion.gg to pick items for champions. You can get away with it sometimes. Like you can like as you were saying, like you can totally build something off meta and still do well. Like, when supports build full AP, like when a support like, let's say Soraka builds full AP, like that's not great, but I mean, hey, they have AP scaling on their heals now, so that's something. But generally that's not going to be as strong as building the correct items, such as, getting a redemption and getting a sightstone, etc.
Next was going to be Molly. How do you feel about the items in League?
I'm gonna be honest, I mean, I haven't really played too many other MOBAs other than League. I think I played Dota like once for maybe 2 hours, and Heroes of the Storm is hit or miss with me. The items, I mean, they're okay. I mean, it gets a little... There's something both really nice about knowing what items you're going to get that game, like basically going in with a plan, like, oh, this is the item that we always get. But, I mean, it also gets a little bit stale and static, every game it's like, well, better build my Rabadon's Death Cap, or better build my Bloodthirster, or whatever, that you need that game. So, I mean, I both like and hate the predictability of it, because it's like, at the same time, you don't have to look up a whole lot, but, I mean, there's not a whole lot of room for experimentation either. I mean, there is some room, but generally, it's just kind of... I don't really have strong opinions about the items. They're right. They're right.
Now, see, I just want to say, I'm going to disagree with that just because you have a plan most games. Just like, okay, this game, I'm playing Ori. I'm going to need to make sure I get my Ludens at some point. But generally, you are going to get different items based on the lane. And if you just build the same things every game, you're probably going to get screwed over. Because if you're fighting a Zed lane and you first item a Athene's, well, that's really stupid. But also, say you're playing Galio top lane. If you're versus a Teemo, I mean, it depends on if it's AD or AP Teemo, so I suppose that's not a very good point. But, say you're versus Darius, you're more than likely going to base and get your Chain Vest. But if you're against, let's say, somebody who's building full AP Malphite for some reason, you're going to base and get components for a Spirit Visage or an Abyssal Mask or something. Because if you don't change it up every game, then you're going to just be doing it wrong. Because, say you're playing AD carry, generally you're going to want to get a Last Whisper at some point. Now, if you want Lord Dominik's or Mortal Reminder, that's going to depend on the game. Do they have a lot of heals? Then you're going to want to get a Mortal Reminder. Do they have a crazy tanky frontline? Then make sure you get a Lord Dominik's. It's going to change every game. While it may be similar items, it's going to change every game at least. It's like...
See, and I do agree with that, to a point, but the thing is, after you play, so many games, it's pretty much, basically streamlined. It's like, oh, this is my opponent, this is what they're doing, this is what I buy. And I feel like there's so many items that are in League of Legends that just aren't, no one uses them,
I can only think of one item that I never see people buy, and that's Poacher's Dirk. Other than that, I see people buy, Poacher's Knife. I honestly even forget the name of it, but the thing that builds into the jungle item. But other than that, I see basically every item get used. It's it just depends on the champion, though. So I understand that. It's just I feel like more items get used than you'd think. Especially right now, with the AP item rework that happened recently. A lot of things got different and a lot of things are more used now. Abyssal Mask is a very good item right now and just stuff like that. So I agree with that to a point as well. But it's just I feel like a lot of items still get used.
I mean,
too.
like you said, it kind of depends on the meta. It depends on what's good at that moment. But I don't see I don't see people running around constantly with Guinsos or I don't know. I'm trying to think of some other items that nobody ever uses. But yeah, you get the point.
Exactly. A lot of items are used than you would think. I mean,
yeah.
Well, I want to also just talk about the fact that you're saying before it's streamlined. Essentially, it's sort of textbook what items you're going to be getting. And I think there is a sort of mind game strategy there. It's sort of like chess, right? Where you see an opponent make a move in League of Legends, they buy an item, and you're like, okay, what can I do to combat that? But at the same time, what can he think that I'm gonna think, and then does he think that I can think about what he's gonna think? It's a whole mind game kind of thing, where everything technically is my voice cracked. Everything technically can be streamlined to the point where I would say after 2 core items. That's the point where players have to think, this person has to be building this because I'm building this, and then now I have to build this because he's probably going to build this because I'm building this, kind of thing. Which I think it makes it more fun strategically, compared to Dota 2, where you have genuinely no idea what they're going to build until they've actually built it, and you can't really prepare for it. Because I don't know how much of Dota 2 you guys have played, but what I've seen from it is that they can build items and form a playstyle out of them, whereas in League, you sort of have to build items because of your playstyle, kind of thing. Or because of your champion's playstyle.
I totally feel that. Because, like, for example, Flash is an item in Dota.
Right. Yeah.
So, like, if you want to be able to have that movement or that escape, that's something you have to buy.
Yeah, that's something I wish League had more of. Like,
More actives.
Yeah, more actives. And we talk about the itemization that League's known for, right? And even though you do have your core items, late game, you kind of build depending on the situation. And your last two big items are very based on, like, okay, who's fed on their team? Maybe I should get more damage to get past their armor if it's a tank, or maybe I should get more magic resistance because their mid's fed, whatever it is, right? And I like that. I wish that there were more actives that were going into those last builds, because then it actually changes how you as a player need to, like, know what you have in your arsenal, and every game's going to be different, right? Back when Deathfire Grasp isn't still inactive, is it? Or
DFG was removed from the game. RIP DFG.
yeah, see, I'm remembering DFG from way back in the day, and I was playing Ari for a while, and I just remembered how fun it was that, like, once you built that, now I knew that, like, okay, up until this point, I couldn't use that active to get that extra bonus damage, but now I need to play that into my game now. I need to pay attention to, I have to cast this, then I use my skills and whatever. And if it was a game where I didn't build DFG for whatever reason, maybe, like, it just didn't line up properly, or maybe I was facing something where I didn't want to build that, or for some reason, I don't know. It might not be the best example, but if I did end up building that, now I have to play differently. Now I don't need to remember to press 3 or whatever number it's on and then attack. Now I know, like, my damage isn't as great up front, but now I can fight differently because of the other items I've built. And I wish League had more of that personally.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah, it was just, that's how I feel about the items.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think
late game.
I think more actives would be would make the game more game changing, I guess, depending on the situation.
It would make every game
most definitely.
It'd make every game feel different.
And right now, there's only even one item I'd even consider broken, just to, like, kind of verge into that. But Ninja Tabby are dumb.
Yeah, Ninja Tabby right now is really interesting.
That's the armored boots,
Yeah.
right?
Yes.
And what do they do to it?
They block 10% of basic attack damage.
Oh, okay. That's pretty
So
neat.
AD carriers fighting a tank are just like, oh, haha, XD.
And
I
it's
can't hit Galio.
That was the weird thing about the boots in League too, right? Is that there was all these. It's always been the same, like, 5 boots that you build into, and yet I always felt like the stats that they gave you were generally negligible. Like,
I get that.
for
Yeah.
the most part.
No, I could feel that, but, like, they're all very good for their price and stuff too, especially with the move
yeah.
speed. Like, Sork shoes are awesome, you know, and, like, Lucidity boots are amazing.
Oh, Lucid are the best, man, hands down. They're always my favorite to build. And some would argue, I remember I even had the argument, or it wasn't even an argument, I just asked my friend once, and he said, like, sometimes I just switch out to Lucidity boots at the end of the game, just because Sorcerer's boots are great and all, but, like, I can do more damage if I was still casting, rather than just, like, that extra damage boost up front. Yeah, and when they added the enchantments, that didn't change, like, that was kind of cool as well. Especially, like, fur boots, like, that could be, like, such a steamrolly enchantment, but they don't do the enchantments anymore, do they?
No,
They're all gone now, yeah.
Ah, man. See, I'm talking about League from a different era, and that just shows how long the game has been around. But, yeah. The next question I had was, I'm going to pick one here because I feel like we only got time for one more, and I figured this one's going to be the craziest one, and we're all going to get real mad about this one. Let's talk about the balancing in League. Let's talk about, is the game really balanced? Where do you feel the balance falls? Where do you feel the balance really screws up?
All right, later.
Is it good? Is it bad? Koshi, no, you're first.
Oh, am I? Can I not be first?
This round, yeah.
I gotta, like, think
Would
it
like
through.
Tag in.
Tag in.
Tag in. Tag me in,
Okay,
Coach.
try it.
Tag me in.
Tag
Tag me
in.
in. You gotta tag me in.
Go.
Gotta high five me. High five me. Come on. There we go. Tag in. Okay. This is WWE now, boys.
I just snapped
But,
my fingers instead of high five.
No, well,
That's
I'll
almost
take it.
the
I'll
same
take it.
thing.
Sure.
I'll
That's
take
like
it.
a
You gotta do the save.
that's a poetry tag in. That's what we'll call
Oh,
that one.
That is, yeah. No, you got to do the save the day run from WWE. Okay, never mind. I'm not getting into WWE today. But so Koshi and I play on a competitive team, right? And when I say competitive team, I mean that very loosely. But we play in, like, scrims and stuff together with a group of people, and we're not obviously some MLG pro team. But the thing is, League right now, I feel, is more balanced than it ever has been, especially from a competitive sense. Because granted, there are a lot of champions, but with the 10 ban system now, it's very, very nice because you can just get rid of things that you don't want to deal with. Now, you could say that's a bad thing because instead of just balancing all the champs, just ban them. But when there are so many champs in the game, it's very easy to just be like, I'm not dealing with this today. I don't want to fight. Like let's say Camille. Camille was incredibly, like actually broken for a while. Or let's think of the disaster that was Worlds 2015, where the Juggernaut patch was awful. Like there have been times where just in terms of a competitive scene, League was horribly balanced. But right now, most things are really balanced, and it's kind of crazy. But Riot is updating the game like every 2 weeks at this point with a new patch. So if something's incredibly strong, it's going to be fixed within a week or two, and that's very nice. Like, I'm trying to think of the most recent thing that was very strong, and like honestly, I'm drawing blanks. But like, okay, let's say like Galio, his landing phase was pretty strong and stuff, and recently he got nerfed. So it's like, yeah. So Riot is generally on top of things, and if there's something that's incredibly strong, generally they will be on top of it. Like right now, I feel Ninja Tabby are really strong. Nothing's happened yet, but I feel like Riot will do something about that soon. And besides that, like Death's Dance. Death's Dance is pretty strong right now too. Only reason that Draven and Riven are good right now, basically. So generally, if something's overtuned at all, Riot will get to it incredibly quickly. Like, look when Skarner was broken, he was hotfixed within 6 days. But there are times where Riot messes up, like, for sure. Like, when Camille came out, like, Riot, come on. That wasn't going to be balanced. And right now, I'm really worried about the new champion, Kayn, because his E is on, like, a 20-second cooldown, and it allows me to go through walls. I'm not sure how that's going to go at all. I can already feel that being a balancing nightmare, especially with how strong his kit looks. But, I mean, hey, I could be completely wrong. But generally, I think Riot is very good with balancing.
See, I think... Yeah, well... So what I think is that I don't think that Riot will ever get to a point of like perfect balance with this game, and that comes with the idea of changing it every 2 weeks. The more like every time you change it, the more mistakes are going to come up, and even when you fix those mistakes, say 6 patches later, the mistake might come up again because of the specific patch. So I think it's interesting that Riot tries to balance it as much as possible, and I'm sure that they're aware that there's no way they can get like a perfect balance in the game. Because once there is a perfect balance, especially with like 130 champions at this point, there's going to be a point where only certain champions will be played. And that at that point, like if you want a perfect balance, you'll have to stick with a core group of champions that you want Yeah, it would get boring. That's the thing. Yeah. So as much as people like to complain about the balance, I don't fault Riot for not being able to get a perfectly balanced game. Because it's still fun, in my opinion, even when certain things are unbalanced. And like you said before, there's now the 10 ban system. So if players do find something that they deem unbalanced, they can just ban it. Like there's no excuse anymore. You can just ban the thing now. And you can't, you can't make the excuse that you could before, where you'd be like, why didn't my team ban this? Because you now have a personal ban. You can ban whatever you want. So I think we're in a point where balance... Well, obviously perfect balance can't be achieved, but balance, I feel, now can be kind of controlled, and it's up to the players to kind of control it sometimes. So that's what I think about the balance at the moment. I think it's a really, like, muddy topic to get into without, knowing what the inside of Riot is like. So that's my opinion on it.
It's
Thanks,
true.
Man.
My only argument for... in terms of balancing, my only argument is when you are patching it every 2 weeks, right? Don't you think that can also take away from the game as a competitive thing? It can turn your community into a bunch of crybabies because they're just going to be like, well, that's broken, that's going to get patched in 2 weeks, whatever. And it doesn't teach players how to get around stuff. And again, I haven't played League too much recently, so I don't know what it's really like now, but I like to compare it to the fighting game community where they don't get patches as much, mainly Melee, because I was mainly into Smash, and they don't get as many patches. And yet that game is still super popular because of people have learned so many different ways to deal with different things, and it's built up this really crazy meta. And I understand that there's way less characters compared to League, so I understand it'd be near impossible to get 130 characters all within the same sort of damage range and everything, but especially when there's items involved. But I just feel like I feel like it can take away from the game when you're patching it all the time, because rather than people learning how to work with stuff, which is something that I feel like you should want when you have 130 characters, you should have it in such a way where, sure, this one guy got super strong. Oh no, that sucks. But what if there was that one other champion that no one's playing right now? No one's playing, I don't know, let's say, I want to pick something weird, Garen or something, I don't know. Garen suddenly comes back into the meta for the sole purpose of counterplaying this champion that everyone's saying really good. And the fact that like Garen can shut down that champion straight up, I feel like that can add like a different dynamic to the game. And since League was very counterplay built, and there is 130 characters, so it wouldn't just be Garen, it'd be like Garen and 3 other people, right? That can all kind of counter what this one character does. And I feel like that in a way is better than patching all the time and fixing stuff, because it can give a lot of champions more exposure, because like we said, we don't want the same champions getting played all the time. So that's how I weigh on it. I mean, it can be done right in either regard, but I'm more for the let's wait it out and see if we can learn how to deal with it, and then we can patch it once we realize that there's no other options. I've always felt the League community was very quick to just say, nope, that's overpowered because X special uses it, and I can't do that. Or who is it? Who am I thinking of? Faker. Faker plays this guy really good.
X special and Faker are very two different people.
Synonyms.
Yeah, X special is a support main. I don't know who I was thinking, but you know what I mean.
Right.
This is like if he just.
Well, I think it comes with the idea of adaptation is sorry, it's what makes pros, in my opinion.
Exactly.
And they're the ones who are able to adapt and figure out certain champions. But I think there's also, you can come up with, you can theorize that one champion can actually shut down this really overpowered champion, but then you also have to consider all the other stuff, like, does he have enough wave clear? Does he have enough CC? Does he help our team? Is it actually going to win us the game? Doesn't matter if he shuts down the other person. So that's what makes pro players pros, and why certain champions, I think, are being played in the competitive scene. Not because they are technically meta or because they are OP. It's because I think it works the best in a competitive environment. If it was solo queue, then I agree with you. I think solo queue players should focus more on adaptation than just being like, this is broken, fix it, please. So, yeah.
And that's an interesting thing about League, is like how much the competitive scene really plays into it, and that ties us back into the whole, like, how it really does a fantastic job of being a sport compared to other games. And would Molly like to say anything on the subject of balancing, or does she want me to hold?
You know what? I had this entire rant ready to go about the balancing of League of Legends.
Hold my beer.
No, you guys know me. I mean, I had this whole rant ready to go about the balancing of League of Legends. But you know what? The more I sat here and I listened to what TJ and Koshi and Kevin had to say, I'm not going to say anything about the topic. And there's a very specific reason why. I'm going to practice the art of restraint, because anything that I would say about at this point would come off as a completely conceited and uninformed person.
Go for it.
So, no.
I feel it.
So,
this is what the show's about.
I mean, we value and love your opinion.
But I feel like I don't exactly have the right to talk about the balancing, because I haven't played League as much recently.
I mean, I don't think any of us have the right.
I didn't even know that there was a new champion coming to the game that can walk through walls. I mean, that's something.
Oh no, it's intense. Like, the person, like, I saw a video of the champion, like, literally going outside of Summoner's Rift map.
Yeah, that was
and going to base.
He was getting 5-manned. He just ran through the outside of the map while laughing.
Oh man. Anyway, I mean, I didn't even know that was a thing, but with the 10-ban system in place, I mean, I feel like most of my points are pretty much shot down. I mean, I had a friend that would frequent I almost said Pokemon for some dumb reason, the League of Legends subreddit quite a bit.
Way to subtly shout out your new Let's Play, by the way. Go on.
Anyway, I wasn't... Did I see the words go to my channel? No, I did not.
Yes. No, we said subtly. We said subtly.
Shut up.
And now we're all just, everyone subscribe to the Lightning Speed.
Anyway, okay, not making this into a self-promotional, because this was an accident. Anyway.
Yeah, I don't mean to talk about my new Pokemon Emerald Let's Play on YouTube.com.
I don't mean to talk about new Pokemon. I don't mean to talk about Lightning Spirit. Though.
Okay.
I just said Lightning Spirit.
Anyway, we're talking about League of Legends. Anyway, completely lost my train of thought. Thanks, everyone!
I'm sorry.
Yeah, have you ever
Thanks.
checked out the
We're
League of
having
Legends
fun.
videos on youtube.com? Never mind.
So the balance system.
Oh, yeah, okay. So, I feel like I'm not exactly the best person to comment on the balance system, and I feel like they've made so many changes to the game since I stopped playing as frequently. Like, when I played, I had nothing but bad to say about the balance team. I had nothing but bad to say about the choices that they'd make, about the bi-weekly updates. But now that I don't play as much, I've heard from multiple people. Like, I had a friend that frequented the League of Legends subreddit, or the Reddit, and apparently, like, when something was broken or something was stupid, and Reddit would complain, like, for weeks and weeks and months and years, it would become a meme. And apparently, all of the end of last year, Riot was basically like, you know what, we're gonna squash all these memes.
Yeah.
And
Replays, boys.
and apparently throughout all
Sandbox.
apparently throughout many of the patches, Riot is basically killing
Yeah,
the
we've
memes.
gotten all of it.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure
So,
something's
I
happening,
can't
and I
really-
think Mark Merrill's gonna.
I can't
like,
really
shut the game
comment
down.
on half of my complaints anymore because most of them have been addressed. So, good job on you, Riot. I have nothing to say now.
Rito.
Thanks. Thanks, guys.
Rito.
Thanks for making me the most boring person in the podcast tonight. Thanks, Rito.
We'll
Appreciate
have
it.
other games. You'll get to pick a game some week. But if you do have any game ideas that you would like us to talk about for fun, if it's a big game, we'll have to do it in like parts. Like if we ever just decided, yo, we really want to play,
Persona series.
Persona, we're gonna have to be like, we're gonna have to like, where it's gonna take like 3 podcasts just to talk about like just one of the Persona games, right?
One
I could do
3-hour
that.
podcast.
But yeah, like,
Ooh.
oh, that
Whoa.
would hurt. But yeah, we have all these options.
Hand me my
Wasn't
beer
the
back.
Give me my beer back. I'm gonna need that to get through this one. But yeah, leave comments down below with ideas for games that you'd like for us to talk about. We'll have fun. Just about anything's free game. Even just like interesting like happenings, like when E3 rolls around next year, we can probably talk about that. It's a bit late to talk about it now, but we can talk
Just
about
about a
like
few
events.
weeks.
Yeah,
We can talk about
we can talk about
media and
events
such.
like that.
New-
We can talk about gaming news and stuff like that if we feel it's pertinent enough and something worth eating up a whole hour.
Sure.
But with that being said, we do want to thank you all for listening to this podcast. We will be trying to put these out weekly. Anything that y'all want to say to send this show off?
Thanks for watching. PixelFlip is I cut Koshi
No,
off,
go ahead.
but it's a project we've been working on for a while, so we're really grateful for everyone watching. Seriously, from the bottom of my heart, thank you guys for watching, and I hope you guys stick around for more because this has been something we've wanted to do for a long time. I'm really happy to be here. Lightning's my mom,
What?
and I love all of you.
I was not informed of this.
Also, Koshi's my dad. Surprise, Lightning, you're pregnant.
What does that make
Well then.
me?
You're the uncle that we see at family reunions
Okay,
I'd believe
I'm
it.
cool.
that
with
we all love.
I believe that.
Um,
I come with the gifts. And they go like, "Oh, it's Uncle Joey. He brought his fucking gifts." I'll believe
Your name's
that.
Kevin.
Go,
I'll
Joey.
believe- I don't know.
Let's go,
Hey,
Joey.
just,
Hey, Ukes.
I'd just like to say
You're-
to the listeners at home,
I'm listening. Koshi.
patreon.com/virus. Thank you.
Oh, there it is!
You're calling me?
There it is!
Really? I didn't even mention my channel, and you're just over here like, here's my Patreon, guys, go!
Thank you for listening, everybody. Have a good night.
And we'll see you guys next
I
time.
thought someone was gonna say that PixelFlip was a Patreon funded show, and I'm like, no, it's not. Not yet.
It
at
is
least.
now.
Anyway, thank you all so much for watching, guys.
Love you guys. Here's a little kiss.
You spell it
Oh, that was-
patreon.com/virus with a Y, not an I, so VYRUS.